startups implies that there is a need for funds. Of course, you cannot create a startup and being an entrepreneur without finding the right funds. This is what we're going to speak about. Now, have you noticed that the seats that are in front of me actually have been created by a 3D printer? Well, anyway, let's go back to startups, how to upscale, how to develop a startup. I am going to ask 3 speakers to join me and sit on these fantastic 3D seats. I'm calling Rudy Cohen first, co-founder and CEO of the Inbolt startup. Please take a seat, be most welcome. Then Magali Cohen for Aircaptif, another startup. We will also welcome Régis Saleur from Anova Invest. Please do sit on the small seats, if you please. Gentlemen. And our last guest on the investment side is Magali Joessel, Head of Industrial Investment at Bpifrance, the French investment entity. Okay, thank you. Welcome. We were speaking about investing in startups. Well, they're guests from the startup side. Could you explain how you can upscale, how you can upgrade, how you can develop and find the right funds when you want to develop your startup? So you are CEO of Inbolt, that you are going to introduce actually, because I don't know the concept so well, so please explain. Inbolt was created in 2019. We are about 15 people today. We work on the localization, 3D technology for aerospace and automotive industries. So it's a small onboarded sensor, like a sensor that we fix on an automated arm, for instance, so that you can create a digital twin, creating a copy of all industrial information so that our customers can trace operations and have more reliability. What was the starting idea for the creation of this company? Well, we are 3 co-founders. We were 3 students in a Paris-Saclay entrepreneur master. And during our studies, we visited actually a storage area where you had the maintenance of buses. And we realized that there were problems in tightening some areas. And so we started discussing with all the industrial representatives around, and they all had the same difficulty, and we thought, well, there is something, there is a need here, we could find and we could suggest a solution. Yes, very often a startup begins when a specific difficulty or need is identified. Okay, so you are a startup, you found French, German and American investors, right? Yes. Was that a choice or an opportunity to go for global investment? Well, actually, initially we started with a priming funds in the United States. That's where we got our first fundings. And then when we decided to raise 3 million extra euros, as we've done recently, well, we went discussing with the various fundraisers in various markets. We went to Germany, France, of course, but we've been discussing with Germany because there are a lot of automotive industry representatives there. They're very strong in cars, so it was a good opportunity for us to have a first position there. Yes, your customer base is really industrial, right? Do you need more funds when you're working when you are started in the industrial industry? No, you need more time. And as you need more time to develop, yes, in a way, you need more funds. But it's not because it's an industrial technology. It's because we are selling our product to industry stakeholders, and with them discussion take time, and we need to work on hardware. And as we're working on hardware, we need specific funds. Yes, that's true. And we need to find either fund or subsidies. Briefly now, if I may, from the entrepreneur side, as a startup, what is your standpoint of what we call the VC or investors and their identity? You've been mentioning Germany, the US, they have a different culture. So what is your approach? What is your vision? Well, we are delighted to benefit from the confidence of our various investors. We are a startup, and in order to look for funds, of course, you need to be aligned with the vision of the money lender. Now, if we're speaking about the US, Germany, France, those are different cultures, and actually it helps us being more open-minded, and also it increases our ability to adapt to the various markets of our customers. It's an opportunity to present our technology as well. Michael from Aircaptif. Actually, you were part of the Spring 50 last year. You were a competitor. So Aircaptif today, can you explain again what it is? Well, it was Emmanuel Fievé, the head at the time, and you see that you've got someone different today. So Aircaptif, what is that? It's an innovative startup on inflatable structures for a variety of uses, for the airspace, leisure, events, medical use. It comes from a kite surf technology, but it can be applied to a large number of uses. We've been working on a lot of innovative projects, more than 100 of them, working with a well-known Michelin company, for instance. Okay, and so you have been purchased, right, by Michelin. That's interesting because it's a must for a startup if you want when you are purchased by a large company. So I have two questions on this. First, why did Michelin want to buy you, and why was it interesting for you? It's a wonderful brand. What are the advantages for Aircaptif? Well, Michelin and Aircaptif met in 2020 when the hospitals asked the Michelin group to help them with the management of the COVID crisis and the number of people who were lying on beds, and the beds were too tough, and so it was hurting the skin of the patients. And so the question was how to mitigate the consequences of this crisis, and the hospitals asked Michelin to find a solution. They, in turn, looked for an innovative company, and that's when they met Aircaptif. We discussed, and we were proactive, agile, able to interact and find solutions fast, so that when the founder of the company in 2021 decided that there were new needs, there were new needs for new funds. We met around an industrial momentum, and we thought that there was a possibility to develop things around the inflatable product. Well, actually, we hope your neighbor is going to benefit from the same experience and maybe be repurchased by a large company. Congratulations for the very nice story, actually. Okay, so thanks to our startup representatives for bearing witness. Now we would like to hear about you from Anova Invest, Régis. You are the managing partner, so intern. Please do introduce your company or your structure. Yes, good morning. Anova Invest is an investment company with a portfolio 100% dedicated to disruptive innovations, with the logic of industrial scalability, because the aim of all technological innovation is to upscale and enter into an industrial phase. We've been investing for the past 15 years in about 100 companies, 98 of which are hardware, in microelectronics, health, 4.0 industry, and energy and environment, which is our key area. We invest 4 million per year, from the budding startups up until the latest development stage. You've been speaking about deep tech. It's something that we talk a lot about at Paris-Saclay. So you know the deep tech startups. Would you say that they are industrial by nature? Well, we have invested in deep tech because our company was a spin-off of the CEA technological side. So we've always been working with large industrial companies, and the initial idea is to pass on the innovation to large industrial areas. So we foster the creation of products, and even if we're speaking about Fab Labs, where we don't have the full control about the chain, we want to find companies that are not dematerialized, but that are industrial companies, and that in fact work on topics with impact, because the aim is to change the life of people. Yes, deep changes indeed. What could you say about the development profile of the startups you are funding? Would you say that they have a specific development profile? Well, if you look at a deep tech startup compared to a classical digital innovation startup, it's different because it immediately focuses on an international market. I've invested in the e-commerce before moving on to deep tech, and when we are on e-commerce, you start with a country, France, and you extend to Italy, etc., etc. For deep tech, this would be preposterous. So that's the first clear specificity. And the second one is that you've got quite a structured path. You start with R&D, then you move on to production model, then you build in a small size, and then you upscale. And thirdly, you invest in your commercial abilities. And so it's a very predefined classical path with a number of clear milestones. Okay, so the stakes are different from a classical digital-focused startup, right? So it's quite specific. Magali Joessel, thank you again for being here with us today. You are in charge of investment and innovation at Bpifrance. I think it's an entity that everyone knows here, financing a large share of the SMEs and startups on the French territory. So you are, of course, interested in deep tech startups, industrial by nature. Do you think that these entities can be the way to create the technological, industrial fabric of a country, the kind of fabric that the President Macron is dreaming of? Yes, we can, and yes, we have started doing so, actually. Since 2015, Bpifrance has been developing investment on industrial startups in order to support this upscaling that we've been discussing through the prototyping, development phases. That is not easy, but you have other partners to support them. No, we are here for the first stage of upscaling towards industrial level, for which there is a need for a very specific capex. So I can speak about figures more precisely later on, but broadly speaking, industrial startups are nowadays considered as fully fledged members of tomorrow's industrial landscape. And in the past, it was not the case, but they are considered as the stakeholders that will provide the bricks for the building of the industrial landscape. And it has been demonstrated that they could turn into the medium-sized companies of tomorrow. So through innovation, there is a possibility to renew the environment. The traditional industry is transforming, of course, but it is supported by the arrival of these new innovative startups. The entrepreneurs creating startups themselves are beginning to see themselves as respectable entrepreneur creators, which was not always the case 15 years ago. 15 years ago, they were creating something, selling it, moving on to something else. It has been demonstrated that some startup creators have succeeded, and so now they think that it can be a way also to make a difference, have an impact, being part of a territory. And so we are seeing that people think in terms of adventure. Do you receive more and more startups, and notably deep tech startups? Yes, yes. In the past, when we were saying startups could become major actors of the industrial world, it was like wishful thinking, if you want. Nowadays, the situation is different. In the past, we had to find the people, convince them that they could do it. Today, we still have to look for people constantly, but we receive more and more files that are being sent to us spontaneously by people who believe in it. And so we can see that there are more potential projects, so more projects to support, to fund, which is the reason why the fund I am in charge of will be developed significantly. And we are also creating with the government a new tool to help the private entrepreneurs developing this ecosystem. Yes, because 10 years back, we spoke a lot about software. It was all software everywhere, in France, in the US just as well. The US was the country of softwares. And the rest, the industrial context, the hardware, reinventing things were not so attractive at the time. And if I may a comment, I remember hearing entrepreneurs saying, we are constantly repeating that we want to develop. We've got a fantastic tool. We want to develop hardware with a patent, and there is no way we can find money because it's not as glamorous as software. Yes, we heard that, and this is precisely why we have created this investment fund in order to meet this specific need. It was created in 2015. It supported 20 new entities, 20 new plans on the French territory. An industrial project had actually three characteristics. First, you have to invest quite a lot of money in order to build the plant. Secondly, you have to accept to take a large variety of diversified risks, market risk, structuration of the company, etc. And the third aspect is that it takes time, the time to build, the time for the market to bloom. So it's not exactly what the investors are usually looking for. So we still have to demonstrate that this kind of company is useful for the government, but also interesting for the investor, and that there is an interest in them to go for it. Yes, actually, and in addition, I think we can say that it's also interesting for all the industries. It's in their interest to make sure that the startups are going to arrive on the market, and that it can be a question of sovereignty and independence. Thank you so much, startup owners, investors. Do network, do discuss together. Thanks so much. Now the time has come to discuss with Alexandre again. Where are you now? Well, I'm still wondering and discussing with entrepreneurs. So it's an area where entrepreneurs and future investors can discuss. I am here with Frédéric from InCamp Alliance. Frédéric, in 2021, you announced the launch of Deep Tech Alliance. What is it? It is the alliance between a number of different stakeholders, the Paris-Saclay University, its research and development and training entities, the SAT, which is the technology transfer fostering entity, which aims at helping the research lab upscaling, and the public incubator entity. Give me the mic back. Okay, so that was a creation that took place last year. What is the situation for you today? Well, we've been existing for a year now, and we've been working on a number of aspects, everything to follow the deep tech companies. What do we mean by deep tech companies? Well, companies with a strong link with research, science, and research laboratories, with long development cycle, but that will bring disruption, innovations that will make a huge difference on the market. So we have to support them for a very long time from their budding stage. And so we work at the academic level right at the beginning. We raise an awareness among students. We develop an entrepreneur approach among students, and we associate the training phases with the valorization of research. Students this very morning have been presenting projects in front of the president of the university. So this is one of the things we do. We also added to the program a pre-incubation phase so as to be linked with the early stage of these projects. And now we've got projects in-house, and we are about to launch the second level of our action, the second level of incubations, so that we can support the projects just after the first stage at a high level when you've got a prototype, beginning of a prototype, and then we will help them in the industrialization phase with our partners. And we also work on a community aspect, really create a network. This is steered by the SAP that I just mentioned, and we will see its impact in a year's time. And we are going to speak about that this afternoon because you are going to make official announcement, but not right now. Keep the surprise for later on. I am going to go on wandering, visiting the space, unless Frédéric decides to do it instead of me, take the mic and visit everyone. But for the moment, I give you the floor back, Marion. No, Alexandre, stay with us. But Frédéric will be welcome to participate as well. This afternoon, we are going to speak about food tech, new space, translational medicine, microbiomes. So we will meet again at 2:20, and at the end of the afternoon at about 5:30, we will give the awards to the brave laureates that have been pitching on this floor all the morning. So we'll see you in the afternoon. Thank you very much.